Adrian, before we come on to that, welcome, by the way. You've worked at the BBC. You've been one of the stalwarts of that organisation when it used to be good. What do you make of the news about Huw Edwards resigning, finally, having taken some medical advice?
Yes, I think it was to be expected. I think the big hoo-ha a few weeks ago was when people discovered that he was still being paid his full BBC salary, licence payers' money. And I think that's what was the shocker to most people, because I don't know about you, but I was aware that if you were sort of taken ill, that you got your salary for a certain period of time and then you were put onto sick pay.
Right.
It works for the BBC. It probably works for Huw Edwards. Interestingly enough, this very day, some friends said they'd seen him recently, and they said he was like a zombie walking, that he was just devoid, his eyes were sort of, gone, and they felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for him because he is down and registered as being very depressive, manic depressive. He's talked about it in the past. However, and I've said this time and time again, it is quite extraordinary how many people always show regret and contrition and sadness once they've been caught out. Probably enough said on that one, I think.
Well, possibly, but I mean, a lot of people also critical of the BBC for not really doing much about it. I mean, the fact that he's gone is entirely on his own decision, as opposed to on their decision. There's no evidence, it seems to me, that they've sort of suggested that he might want to think about leaving. And the other problem he's left behind is the legacy of Huw Edwards and all the things that he used to do. For example, the Queen's funeral has got Huw Edwards all over it. So what are the BBC going to do when they have to, say, replay some of that sometime?
Well, if you look at the history of the BBC with various presenters that they've had that are now wiped from history because of their misdemeanours, then I think they have got a bit of a problem. I don't think, I mean, they will use the excuse of, there's mental health issue here. None of us know, and this is important, none of us know how badly affected Huw Edwards is. So I suspect the BBC will still show clips. However, I find it astounding that it's taken this long, whether they were waiting for him to sort of say enough and walk away, or whether they were terrified that if they fired him, there'd be some huge lawsuit. It remains to be seen.
But that's the thing, and I mean, it's quite interesting that he hasn't said that he's suffering from poor mental health. He's saying he's quitting on medical advice, which is not the same thing at all, is it?
Well, if you remember when his wife spoke out, she said, it was enough to stop the press chasing him. And she said Huw Edwards will make a statement about what has happened in the near future, or as soon as he feels better. But when will that be? I doubt that statement will ever come. And to be honest, if you think about it, and I'm sort of saying, once people get caught out, they're all full of regret. There's a long history, isn't there, with presenters on huge salaries. I think the regret comes knowing that you're going to lose your £500,000 a year salary and all the kickbacks that you get for doing corporate speeches and videos.
Yeah.
And it goes right through, doesn't it? Philip Schofield is an example. John Leslie before Philip Schofield.
Yeah.
Frank Boff at the BBC all those years ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's nearly a football team of them, as somebody pointed out to me today, but that's another matter.